Welcome, students. I am Nancy Southerland. I am eager to begin the discussion of Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is entitled The Self. Chapter 7 discusses the role of our perceptions of self in determining and affecting our behavior as consumers. Chapter 7 covers 6 learning objectives. The self-concept strongly influences consumer behavior. Products often define a person's self-concept. A consumer's personality influences the way he responds to marketing stimuli, but efforts to use this information in marketing context meet with mixed results. Further learning objectives are: brands have personalities. The way we think about our bodies and the way our culture tells us we should think is a key component of self-esteem. Every culture dictates certain types of body decoration or mutilation. In our first objective, we learn about the meaning of self-concept. Thus, Learning Objective 1 states the self-concept strongly influences consumer behavior. This slide discusses self-concept. Self-concept summarizes the beliefs a person holds about his own attributes and how he evaluates the self on these qualities. Although your overall self-concept may be positive, there certainly are parts of it you evaluate more positively than others. The self-concept is a very complex structure. We attribute attributes of self-concept along such dimensions as content, example, facial attractiveness versus mental aptitude, positivity, i.e. self-esteem, intensity and stability over time, and accuracy, i.e. the degree to which one's self-assessment corresponds to reality. This slide discusses self-esteem. Self-esteem refers to the positivity of a person's self-concept. People with low self-esteem expect that they will not perform very well, and they will try to avoid embarrassment, failure, and rejection. When Sara Lee developed a new line of snack cakes, Sara Lee found that consumers low in self-esteem preferred portion-controlled snack items because they felt they lacked self-control. In contrast, a more recent study found that individuals who are made to feel powerful spend more money on themselves because I'm worth it, whereas those who experience a feeling of powerlessness spend more on others than on themselves. In a study, women were photographed wearing varying amounts of makeup. Respondents overall judged the women to be more competent when they were pictured with makeup. We choose some products because we think they are consistent with our actual self, while we buy others to help us reach an ideal standard. We may strategically choose clothing and other products to show off to others. In other words, we are managing their impression of us with our product choices. We all have multiple roles we play in our lives. We may have as many selves as we do different social roles. If each person potentially has many social selves, how does each develop? How do we decide which to activate at any point in time? Symbolic interactionism stresses that relationships with other people play a large part in forming the self. Marketers thus pitch products needed to facilitate these active role identities. Sociologists call the process of imagining others' reactions taking the role of the other or the looking glass self. According to this view, our desire to define ourselves operates as a sort of psychological sonar. We take readings of our own identity when we bounce signals off others and try to project their impression of us. Like the distorted mirrors in a funhouse, our appraisal of who we are varies depending on whose perspective we consider and how accurately we predict their evaluations of us. A confident career woman sits morosely at a nightclub, imagining that others see her as a dowdy, unattractive woman with little sex appeal, regardless of whether these perceptions are true. A self-fulfilling prophecy like the one we describe comes into play here because these signals influence the woman's actual behavior. Let us reflect to increase our learning. Advertising can utilize a consumer's self-esteem in promoting a product by offering the product as a remedy to low self-esteem. Self-esteem advertising products provide remedy to low self-esteem. How effective do you think this form of advertising is? Learning Objective 2 states products often define a person's self-concept. To promote the Double Down Chicken Filet Sandwich, KFC recruited female college students to serve as human billboards. Do you think the students define themselves in part by their choice of KFC sandwiches? Identity marketing is a promotional strategy where consumers alter some aspect of themselves to advertise for a branded product. For instance, Air New Zealand created cranial billboards in exchange for a round-trip ticket to New Zealand. 30 participants shaved their heads and walked around with an ad for the airline on their skulls. The Casa Sanchez restaurant in San Francisco gives free lunch for life to anyone who gets its logo tattooed on their body. The restaurant estimates that the cost of the identity marketing promotion is $5.8 million in terms of the free lunches redeemed. The reflected self helps shape self-concept, which implies that people see themselves as they imagine others see them. Because what others see includes a person's clothing, jewelry, furniture, car, and so on, it stands to reason that these products also help to create the perceived self. A consumer's possessions place her in a social role, which helps to answer the question, who am I now? People use an individual's consumption behaviors to identify that person's social identity. In addition to looking at clothes and grooming habits, we make inferences about personality based on choices of leisure activities, food preferences, and home decorating choices. When we use objects to maintain our self-concept, we tend to become attached to those objects. For example, someone who drives a Mini Cooper may rely upon the image of the Mini to relay information about his or her own identity as a fun, distinctive, stylish person. The more the person relies upon the possession as a way of defining and supporting his or her identity, the more attached the person will be to the possession. Research supports this ideal that there is a match between product usage and self-image. In one study, car owners' rating of themselves tended to match their perception of their cars. In another study, observers were able to match photos of male and female drivers to the cars they drove 70% of the time. The external objects that we consider a part of us make up our extended selves. The Italian ad shown demonstrates that our products are part of who we are. Many material objects can help to form a person's identity. People can construct digital versions of themselves online. We use digital footprints, live streams, and profiles to do this. Let us reflect and increase our learning. Construct a consumption biography of a friend, family member, or classmate. Make a list of his or her most favorite possessions and see if you or others can describe this person's personality just from the information provided by this catalog. Learning Objective 3 states a consumer's personality influences the way he responds to marketing stimuli, but efforts to use this information in marketing contexts meets with mixed results. Personality refers to a person's unique psychological makeup and how it consistently influences the way a person responds to her environment. The id is about immediate gratification. It's the party animal of the mind. It operates according to the pleasure principle, that is, our basic desire to maximize pleasure and avoid pain guides our behavior. The id is selfish and illogical. It directs a person's psychic energy toward pleasurable acts without any regard for consequences. The superego is the counterweight to the id. This system is essentially the person's conscience. It internalizes society's rules, especially as parents teach them to us, and tries to prevent the id from seeking selfish gratification. Finally, the ego is the system that mediates between the id and the superego. It's basically a referee in the fight between temptation and virtue. The ego tries to balance these opposing forces according to the reality principle, which means it finds a way to gratify the id that the outside world will find acceptable. These conflicts occur on an unconscious level, so the person is not necessarily aware of the underlying reasons for his or her behavior. This ad focuses on the conflict between the id and the superego. Freud's work has a huge influence on the theories of personality. However, many of his colleagues and students felt that there should be less emphasis on sexual conflicts and more on relationships. These theorists are known as Neo-Freudian Theorists. Some of the most notable are listed on the slide. Karen Horney described people as moving toward others, away from others, or against others. Adler proposed that a prime motivation is to overcome feelings of inferiority relative to others. Sullivan focused on how personality evolves to reduce anxiety in social relationships. Carl Jung is discussed more on the following slide. Motivational research borrowed Freudian ideals to understand the deeper meaning of products and advertisements. The approach assumed that we channel socially unacceptable needs into acceptable outlets, including product substitutes. The perspective relies on depth interviews with individual consumers. The slide shows a list of consumption motives identified by Ernest Dijkstra. Dijkstra was a psychoanalyst who trained with Freud's disciples in Vienna. Dijkstra conducted in-depth interview studies on more than 230 products. Carl Jung was also a disciple of Freud, but their relationship ended in part because Jung did not accept Freud's emphasis on sexual aspects of personality. Jung developed his own method, psychotherapy, known as analytical psychology. He believed that we all share a collective unconscious. You can think of this collective unconscious as a storehouse of memories we inherited from our ancestors. From these shared memories, we recognize archetypes. An archetype is a universal, recognized ideal or behavioral pattern. They typically involve themes like birth and death and appear in myths, stories, and dreams. Jung and Rubicon, a major advertising agency, uses the archetype approach in its brand asset archetype models shown in the figure and depicted on the next two slides. The model shows the relationships among the archetypes. For each healthy personality, there is a corresponding shadow. The shadows are shown on the next slide. A healthy personality is one in which the archetypes overwhelm their corresponding shadows. A sick personality results when one or more shadows prevail. When a brand's shadows dominate, this cues the agency to take action to guide the brand to a healthier personality. This slide illustrates the shadows that correspond to the archetypes. Trait theory focuses on the quantitative measurement of personality traits. Personality traits are the identifiable characteristics that define a person. For instance, we might say that someone is an introvert or an extrovert. Some of the most relevant traits for consumer behavior are listed in the slide. Innovativeness is the degree to which a person likes to try new things. Materialism is the amount of emphasis a person places on acquiring and owning products. Self-consciousness is the degree to which a person deliberately monitors and controls the image of the self that he or she projects to others. The need for cognition is the degree to which a person likes to think about things and, by extension, expends the necessary effort to process brand information. Frugality is the tendency to deny short-term purchases and to make do with what they already own. The use of standard personality trait measurements to predict product choices has met with mixed success. It is simply hard to predict consumer behavior based on personality. There are several explanations. The most widely recognized approach to measuring personality traits is the Big Five, also known as the Neo-Personality Inventory. This is a set of 5 dimensions that form the basis of personality: openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Table 7.4 describes these dimensions. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, which is based on Carl Jung's work, is another widely used personality test. The Myers-Briggs classifies people into 16 categories, based upon whether they fall into one group or another on these dimensions. First is focus of attention, which may be introversion or extroversion. Second is how we process information, which may be sensing or intuition. Sensing means to take in information in a sequential, step-by-step manner, while intuition means to take in information in a snapshot or big-picture manner. Third is decision-making, which is a continuum between thinking and feeling. Fourth is how we deal with the outer world. We will follow along a continuum between judging and perceiving. Judging is a systematic approach to meeting deadlines and achieving objectives, while perceiving is a spontaneous approach to meeting deadlines and achieving objectives. Learning Objective 4 states brands have personalities. A study found that consumers infer strong differences in a wine's personality based on the bottle's label design. The text shows more examples of wine personality based on label design. Brand personality is a set of traits people attribute to a product as if it were a person. Brand equity is the extent to which a consumer holds strong, favorable, and unique associations with a brand in memory, and the extent to which he or she is willing to pay more for the branded version of a product than for a non-branded generic version. A product that creates and communicates its distinctive brand personality stands out from its competition, earns brand equity, and inspires years of loyalty. There are so many things a marketer can do to influence consumers' perception of a brand's personality. Consumers will infer things about a brand's personality from the brand's positioning in the marketplace. This ad relates closet products to personality. Ultimately, when brands use their personalities to relate to consumers, they are assuming that people express themselves with their brand choices. Let us reflect and increase our learning. How can marketers link a brand's personality with the lifestyle of a consumer segment? Learning Objective 5 states the way we think about our bodies and the way our culture tells us we should think is a key component of self-esteem. In this next section, we'll learn about body image. A person's physical image is a large part of his or her self-concept. Body image refers to a consumer's subjective evaluation of his physical self. As with a person's overall self-concept, this image is not necessarily accurate. Body cathexis refers to a person's feelings about his body. The word cathexis refers to the emotional significance of some object or idea. Consumers who are more satisfied with their bodies are more frequent users of premium products like blow dryers, cologne, and facial bronzers. Virtually every culture has a beauty bias. Preferences for some genetic features are genetic rather than cultural, like large eyes, high cheekbones, and a narrow jaw. I invite you to examine these ideas of beauty. Let us reflect and increase our learning. What is considered the ideal of beauty among your peers? How does this ideal affect choices as a consumer? Further, the Western ideal of beauty is based on cues such as skin color, eye shape, and other aesthetic cues. We can see the manifestation of this ideal of beauty in products like Pond's Skin Lightening, Moisturizer, and colored contacts. Have you seen a shift in what is considered beautiful among your friends over time? Learning Objective 6 states every culture dictates certain types of body decoration or mutilation. Society is obsessed with weight. Though it began as America's obsession, the cultural priority on thinness is spreading to other countries. Still, even with the ideal of thin, the U.S. consumer today is larger than 60 years ago. The typical woman's body is not as petite as it used to be. Consumers increasingly choose to have cosmetic surgery to change a poor body image or to enhance appearance. These may include breast augmentation, liposuction, nose jobs, facelifts, and other enhancements. Decorating the self can serve several purposes. Some of these are to distinguish group members from non-members, place the individual in the social organization, place the person in a gender category, enhance sex role identification, indicate desired social conduct, indicate higher rank or status, provide a sense of security. Let us do another reflection exercise to increase our learning. Do you have a tattoo? If so, what motivated your decision? If not, why not? Can you see the influence of culture on your decision to tattoo or not? We've covered several key concepts in this chapter. You should now understand that self-concept strongly influences our behavior as consumers and that products can play a pivotal role in defining our self-concept. Society's expectations of masculinity and femininity help to determine the products we buy and that we seek to be consistent with expectations. The way we think about our bodies is a key component of our self-esteem. Every culture has norms for beauty, which will influence how we view our bodies and decorate ourselves. Thank you for listening to the lecture of Consumer Behavior, Chapter 7, entitled The Self. I am Nancy Southerland. I'm eager to engage you.